Now, if you're a regular viewer, about a year ago, I was speaking about this building and our plans to turn it into a summer house, come studio, come food store, whatever it might be. And we've started work on it. And this is how we've got on so far. So the first thing to do is to start taking down the old metal roof. And also the side walls, but we've got to be careful because these metal edges are very, very sharp. And as we do it, we're beginning to see the actual sides of the main frames. It reveals to us that its structure is pretty flimsy and some of us need to be careful, but maybe not all of us. Roof and sidewalls now gone, we can see the actual structure itself and it's not looking very good. It's quite clear that these main supporting posts are no good, so it's all going. But slowly and surely we're getting there. We have an issue here with an insect called a carpenter ant. They chew through wood, and in all of these posts they've gone through the bases of each one of them, so it's very, very unstable. Glad we're replacing the whole thing. So we're nearly there with the taking down of the structure, and now all we've got to do is look at relocating it to somewhere else. Well, after a bit of sweeping up, there we can see a clear canvas, a nice, clean, solid concrete base. It's 150mm deep, which is more than enough to carry the weight of the new structure because that is going to be made primarily out of wood. So there we are, all stacked, ready to go off to its new location because it can be reused, and that's the whole point of this, being able to take something down and reuse it in a different location. Okay, so the sun is out. The gates are off at the end of the drive and the lorry can start reversing up to start unloading our building materials. And we've got a lot of them. What you can see here is the insulation blocks for the internal walls of the structure. And using his onboard crane, we're taking off the plasterboard sheets. We've also had some cinder blocks delivered, and that's going to be the foundation wall for the structure, along with some metal bars that are being cut in the foreground there, you can see. So the first thing to do is to lay out the cinder blocks to get the actual dimensions of the structure that we're going to create. We just want to get rid of these tiles now that are left over from other renovation works we've done on the main house. So the idea is, once they're laid out in exactly the same place that we want them, we can fill each one of those gaps in each block with cement. Having added the metal rods into those blocks as well, as you can see, the cement's been poured into each one of them all the way around, creating a very strong frame. And it'll also be a very firm foundation to start the structural works. So we leave it for 48 hours over the weekend, and I go out every 4 hours or so, spray those concrete blocks with water just so that they don't dry out too quickly, and then we're ready to go. And here comes another delivery. On this side of the truck is the outside insulation blocks that we're going to be using, and on this side of the lorry we've got all the timbers, and you'll note by the colour that it's been pre-treated to stop things like those carpenter ants from wanting to eat the frame. And this here is a pile of OSB board, orientated strand board, which is basically waste wood compressed at very high pressures and with a resin added to it to give you a very durable, lightweight building material. It's great stuff. So now we can get on and start building the main frames. And things begin to move quite quickly. And within a couple of days, we're beginning to see some real signs of progress. You can see the frame of the doors and also where the windows are going to go. It's the end of another day, and as the sun sets you begin to see just how nice this is going to turn out. Once completed, this building is going to be a real game changer for us. It's going to allow us to do so much more than we currently do now. And there we have it, the main frame up and ready for the next phase. Pretty soon after, the roof supports are on. And the majority of these spaces that you can see will be filled not only with noggins to keep the structure secure, but also have the insulations put in. Now it's time to start getting this OSB board on all of the building sides. And once that's done, we can then start putting in the insulation material. It's a messy job, makes your skin itch, but it gets in there quite fast. These sheets of OSB are very lightweight, so they're very easy to use. Measure twice, cut once. And here's the result. More insulation to be added, and there's a lot of it. And there we go, all complete, nice and toasty. Last few checks before we start doing the main roof structure. So after all of this, how is it looking? Let's take a look. So here we are today. The main part of the structure has been completed. Let's see if we can get inside and take a look. So to the side, there's going to be a window, and that faces out towards the vegetable garden. And then we're going to come around to the front, and there'll be a window here, another one here, and the door. Oops, trying to get past the scaffolding. Another window there. Coming in, there's another one there. So this is the front section, and between the two you might have noticed the difference in the sound quality, because now it's all insulated in here. Well, not fully, we've got a lot more work to do. There's going to be a dividing wall. So as you look at the door, to the right hand side of it where these two windows are, that's where the wall is going to be, and there'll be a doorway through into that particular. So we end up with two rooms basically. In this one here, I keep calling it my pub. It won't be a pub, but it's going to be a place for us to do other things, especially I can have it as an office, maybe a bit of a man cave. I doubt that's going to happen. But then we'll walk through a door, we'll come into here, and then on this side will be a kind of a kitchen area, which is the summer kitchen that we really need to be processing the produce that we're getting from the garden. And in this side here will be like a pantry where we'll have our shelves of jars of various things that we make, and the freezers, that kind of thing, maybe a fridge. We'll see. But we're getting a new floor installed, which is the next project. But this has been quite a major construction, primarily out of wood, as you can tell. As you can see from the materials we've got here still to use, we've still got quite a bit of work to do, laying in the new floor, finishing off the outside insulation. But it looks completely different to how it first appeared, and we've changed the design somewhat. First of all, what a mess, because obviously when it was the old garage, we had stuff in it. So I've had to empty it all out, and it's underneath the pavilion that we had made by the same guy doing the garage work here, and selection of his tools. So what have they been up to? Well, let's swing round and take a peek. So it's coming on quite a bit, to be honest. I'll step back a little bit so you get a better idea. So the roof is nearly complete. The main structure is done, that's for sure, including what I would call back in the UK eaves protectors. And if we get a little bit closer to that, you can see the end of the gutter, and if you look up to the edge of the fascia, there's a metal cap, if you want. It runs all the way along the back there. That basically does two things. It seals the eaves, if you like, and also forces the water onto the roof and then back down into this gutter. And actually, if you look at the side of the house, got a similar thing going up there and then down the other side there. So that's what that's for. And let's take a look inside. Now we're looking at the floor. And basically what's happened today is that they've laid some, well, it's not roofing felt as I would know it. It's actually this stuff here. It's like a felt. And that's obviously the top part. And this is like a bitumen. This is heated, it melts and sticks to your ground, sticks to the floor. Got a couple of rolls there left to do. But basically the whole of the floor has been treated with this stuff, or this stuff's been laid. It's like a damp proof membrane, so all the way around. And then what's happened is we've got these concrete, these polystyrene blocks which have gone on top. And you'll also note that, see where this line is, this joint here, there's a separate one there. You don't have continual lines right the way through. We put them down a bit like tiles. So, and that damp proof membrane has gone all the way up the sides of the blockwork that you saw in the previous video. And like I say, stop the damp coming in. And then what we'll do is tomorrow, the plan is just to finish that last piece there and then lay a new concrete floor in here. And this same membrane will go along these blocks on the outside here, all the way around the building. And again, there'll be another polystyrene sheeting going across that as well to aid not only keeping the damp out from the DPC, but also the polystyrene, keep the insulation in. So it's certainly coming on. Something else has happened. The electrician has been in to do his first fix, or most of it. So the power comes into that corner there. There's going to be a separate fuse box for it. And then we've got all the various cables on the conduits going through. So we've got sockets going to be on the walls here and here and here. This is where the wall is going to be, remember. So these things hanging down are going to be where the lights are going to go in this section. Then across a similar sort of thing where basically we're going to have two lights in the ceiling here, various sockets around these walls, and this is a separate connection here. So there's going to be 4 sockets on this wall here to be running things like the laptops and other computer bits and pieces, and then this separate one will be the internet cable. So it'll be a fully functioning office. I might still call it a pub, who knows. There's one other thing we've done, a bit of a change of the design. I'll show you outside. And that change is basically to put in 3 outside lights. There'll be one there, one above the door, and one above that window. So things are looking good. And obviously we've got to put in some sort of soffit board across there, which will probably be the tongue and groove, which they call here lamberia. So, you know, there's a few little bits of tidying up to do on the outside here. I can see up in that corner there, a bit more of that membrane needs to be fitted, you know, and tied down. And then we've got the shingles to go onto the roof. And I'm guessing that's probably going to be done next week, because once the concrete floor is laid, it's going to take the weekend for it to set nicely. The weather's dropped in temperature no end. So this will set nice and slow, which means I don't need to come out here and keep it wet like I did when it was warmer. So it will dry out nice and slowly rather than going out too quickly and cracking. So there we go. I'm getting there. All the cross patterns are in to hold the insulation in place on the ceilings and on the walls. And it's beginning to definitely take some shape as the sun goes down. I've got to say I'm really looking forward to it being done, because you know, most of this stuff here is the guy's kit. Look at the size of that saw. That's a monster, isn't it? But you know, it's what we need. And just across here we've got the air conditioning unit or heater. Now these are the tyres from my car. And they're the summer tyres, because every year you have to change your tyres over to the relevant season. So I've had my winter tyres fitted. Good job I did, because we woke up to this the following day. And here they are, along with a muddy door. The weather's certainly changed, and it put a little bit of a delay of a day on the building works. But as we swing round, there's a big reduction in the sand and stone stock that we have. Well, the snow has thawed and the ground was quite wet, and we can see by this track, which is the wheelbarrow that was being pulled up here, and we mixed the concrete to give us our new concrete floor. Looks like it's got a bit of drying out to do. But as well as laying the floor, so you remember we had the polystyrene, and on top of that went some wire rods in the form of a grid for reinforcing, and then the concrete went on top. But as well as doing the concrete floor, remember I said about having the heater unit and the air conditioning going there? Well, the inverter, well, the machine that runs it, has to be outside, and because we didn't want to have a great big white box on the wall, we're having it on the floor. And so we popped in a concrete base there on the outside. And it's interesting because when we dug down into here, it's a solid concrete box. This is from that point there across to this edge here. Dig the soil out and it's solid ground underneath, solid concrete block underneath. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that, but we'll have a bit of a think. Got a lot of clearing up to do as well. And this is that metal mesh that we've used in the floor. Obviously got some left over, and I'm going to be using that as a frame to have plants climb up it, probably tomatoes in the summer. So nothing goes to waste here. This was pretty white the other day, but obviously the snow has thawed through, the ground is quite wet, and I'm getting a lot of activity. Moles, they're getting everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And unlike the UK, it's illegal for me to kill them. So I've got to kind of put up with it. But look at this, it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere. These hills, molehills, that make mountains out of molehills, they're all over the place. This is a tube of bitumen that we've got sitting in a mastic gun. What have we been using that for? Well, as you can see from these blue pieces here on the base of the building, this is the polystyrene that we've covered the blocks with, and the bitumen is applied to the bottom edge of the board, so when it goes onto the ground, it's another barrier to stop damp coming up through from the ground into that board. And then the board itself is stuck to the side of the building using, of all things, expanding foam, as we can see there where it's been pushed through, and there's quite a bit of it around the side. Now I've got to say, if you've ever used expanding foam before, you'll know just how sticky the bloody stuff can be. But it's done its job and it works well, and obviously it can fill in any gaps. Just move out of the way of Stefan's tool bag. It's gone all the way around the building. Now above that, you're probably looking at all these white dots. So what are they all about? Let me show you. Well, if you look in the distance there to the ever decreasing material heap or store, to the left of those red blocks, which is the internal insulation, is the blocks for the external insulation, and the close-up of that is an offcut here and some more offcuts there. And basically what's been happening is these have been attached to the building using some very large screws and these things, which is a bit like a washer. So basically the principle is you basically screw into your wooden frame, and with this washer it spans the two pieces here, so you can see that line, and holds it firmly in place. The idea of that is some sort of a cap. Pull it off and you can push it into there. I don't know whether that's necessary. Personal choice, I guess. We're looking at all these white dots. Not many have had them happen, and quite a few of them on there, look, just snap off. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but yeah, that's what it's for. And so the side of the building has been done. Looks like it's got some form of acne. And you come around, you can see the window within the window frames coming through to the front, up into the eaves, He's making his way around the other side. It is a very quick way of covering the outside of the building in an insulating material. Very easy to cut, certainly very easy to screw on. And then once that's done, I think the next layer is the first layer of plaster. But I need to check that. I'm not sure if there's another material goes on there first, but we'll come on to that nearer the time. So that's the latest progress report, along with a redesign of the electrics, where we were going to have the electric box into the bottom there by the step ladder. But there's been a change of design through necessity more than anything else. And instead it's going to be up at the top there. It's going to go into the building from there. So slight difference, but it's not the end of the world. But it's certainly cracking on now, isn't it? Anyway, I wonder what they're going to put on after this.